Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to my new art room. I've just completed moving from my original small craft room, which is next to this room. This was my bedroom. This was my main bedroom, and I suddenly had this idea one day. Wow, I just go in here and I sleep, get dressed and I leave. I don't really use this room except for sleeping. So why cramp myself in a tiny art room and then sleep in this great big room? So I suddenly decided I was going to swap. So I've managed to get my bed. I'll show you the rest of the room in a moment, but I'm just keeping the camera still because I can't edit footage that's moving. It sets off my vertigo. So it will be a case of stand somewhere still and chat, and then I'll move somewhere else. I'll show you the rest of the room. Anyway, so I've put my bed and dressing table and bedside table in the little art room, and I've got some overflow things in the other room. But I've now got pretty much all my art supplies except fabric in here. Kind of like walk around because I can't actually edit that. I can't watch moving film either, so I can't watch it and I can't edit it. So I apologize for that. So this is just what we're looking at now is just some of my journals and some pouring practices that I was doing at the art studio. I thought, well, I'll put them up here as inspiration. I was going to say illustration, but inspiration. So these are just some of the ones that look pretty on the outside. So I thought I'd put those up for me, and they're facing where I sit when I'm working. So I'm just going to move the camera somewhere else. I'll be back in a moment. So this is my main work area. So you can see the seat, which used to be against the wall in the other room. And the problem with that was the light was always behind me. And so I always had to have a lot of bright lights shining down. I still got the lighting there. And the light in this room is still very, kind of yellow. My son's going to put up a new LED light for me, which will mean I might not need those overhead lights. But you can see where I work on my little lacy mat. And behind me, I've now got more of those white cubicles because Dad and I have been doing garage sailing and selling stuff, and he's picked up stuff and he's managed to gather some more white. Oh, you can hear the dog going to get a drink. Some more white cubicles. So I only had a couple of these shelving units in the small room, but now I've filled the whole back wall so that I can keep all my sort of collage, journal making type things behind me, and I should be able to reach them from my wheelie chair. So we'll have a closer look at those in a moment, but as I say, I can't walk around or even do anything because I won't be able to edit. And now we're over on the other wall. To the right of where I will be sitting is this sort of cupboard that Dad and I picked up one day, and an old TV cabinet, and those drawers and books and magazines on the little bookcase, and the TV that I use when I'm videoing. I can look up and I can see what it looks like in the camera. I haven't got it on today because I'm looking directly at the camera, but normally the camera's on this overhead. I'll just move a little bit, hopefully, on this overhead frame here. So I have the camera on the overhead, and then I look up at the TV to see what you guys are looking at, and that's the view from my old bedroom window, my new art room, which is quite handy because there's a bay window. I was able to push these items into the bay window. Did make a mistake of not cleaning the blinds before I filled it up, so I should have got the blinds cleaned, but anyway, never mind. Live and learn. And now looking on the back wall, where you can see where I sort of started, I've got all my books, my collage material books, and I've got that little buffet in the bottom corner. So the idea is that I've got all my books, magazines and Daphne's diaries together, and then I can sit on the buffet and go through my books to find images that I want to use. So these are the only books that I cut out from. I know there's still a lot, I know, but you should see how many more books I've got in my house. I've just had a decluttering garage sale and didn't sell many of my books, but some of the books that I don't want to cut up or don't want to use and don't want to keep, I'm going to send back to the op shop. Ones that I thought I might use and I probably won't. So we'll have a closer look at what I've got in a moment. And so what I've done is I've set up the two tables. I had one in one room and one in the other, and I've now got them back to back. And the idea is that both desks can share. So if I go onto the other desk to do art or other projects that I'm not filming, I can still reach all of the scissors and paintbrushes and things that I need. So that's really, really handy, because what I found was I had the desk in the other room, but then I was walking backwards and forwards all the time from the main collage room to the art room to get materials. It was really quite irritating having things split up into two different rooms. Okay, so if you're still interested and still with me, oh, there's one more bookcase. Hang on a sec. Okay, so now you can see the bookcase. I've closed the bathroom door, so that was my original ensuite. Well, it's still my ensuite, but now I'm just in the room next door. So there's another bookcase. So this bookcase is, well, it's got a few things. It's got some mixed media and my Lotta journal up there. It's got my other journals, my stamps and things like that. So anyway, we'll have a little bit closer look at what's in my, I know you can see my wardrobe a little bit on the left there. So I've only got one wardrobe, so that one has to stay. It would be quite good to store stuff in there, but I don't have another wardrobe. So my clothes will have to stay in there, and of course my bathroom will be there. So this is now my huge, what I think is huge compared to my little room. All right, so we're going to do a little closer look at each of the shelves and things and what's on them. So that's just some mixed media I did at the my art club, and my Lotta journal, which you've seen before. Some journals, art journals and art stuff, and some spare sort of lined paper, and my stamp albums, which you've seen before, and this book that I got it in a thrift store. One sec. This is going to be the tricky part of trying to show you things without moving the camera so that I can actually film it. But this book here, I thought one day I might make a journal to go in this beautiful box, this peacock box. So I've kept that. All right, let's go to the next shelf. Okay, so these are just some old encyclopedias that were, you know, had missing parts of them. There's only one in a set or whatever. So they've become encyclopedia fodder, but I don't actually use encyclopedia pages as much as I used to. And then over on the other side is just some empty journals that I might use the covers that, you know, like they're just normal bought journals. I like pretty journals, but I don't write in them. Oh, and this box was just a card box, but this is a journal waiting to make. So this is full of items from my childhood, which was my original idea of making a journal, but I just never got around to doing that journal. A journal with all my you know, memorabilia and stuff from when I was a kid. So that's all in there. Well, not all of it, but most of it. Okay, the next shelf. Well, I've got some Christmas books that didn't fit in the Christmas box, and these are actually journals waiting to make into a journal, apart from my, you know, this book here that I used to use quite a lot to tear out of. It's an old, you know, Kelly's directory. But most of these are actually books that I like the cover of, and I want to turn into a journal like this one. Oh, can't wait to make this. It's so pretty. Yummy. But I just haven't got round to it. I have to put it just like that now for now. Haven't got round to it just yet. And this is just some Harry Potter bits and pieces. And then we don't get very many of these kinds of books here in Australia, with a really nice spine and cover and stuff. It's a really nice vintage, I can't put them back, a really nice vintage looking book. And then these are just cookbooks that I like, slim books. So these are waiting to turn into art journals. So, and because they open flat. And then just some spare Christmas stuff. And then these down here are just some, again, books that might turn into journals. What's this one? I don't know why I've got that. Oh, I like this one because it's got lots of fold outs. So I thought, well, that might make it's a journal already made. All I have to do is collage on it. But yeah, I have to feel inspired to use these kinds of books. There's a fairy book, a Reader's Digest. But again, I still find this, it's probably not going to, you know, it doesn't matter. They're just nothing books, if you know what I mean. And then here are all those, you know, those vintage or those Victorian photo album things. I told you I had a lot. So I've got like 5 big ones, 5 small ones, or medium ones, and a few small ones. And then there's just some more books that I don't really know what to do with at the bottom there. Okay, back in a moment. Going left around the room, Okay, so I had nowhere else to put the sewing machine. I bought that sewing machine because I must have a sewing machine because everybody else has one, and I've actually never used it. But now I'm hoping that I might get inspired to try out the sewing machine on that spare desk. I've put the sewing implements and things in the top drawer, so I'm hopeful that I will actually have a go at sewing around tags and things. The basket on the shelf, I have 2 baskets, one for journal day on a Wednesday at the art group and one for art on a Friday, so I could just put things in the baskets to take with me to my art group. Okay, in these boxes, string and twine. In this one, these were those things that you can make cute little bags and things. You put little bags in them and turn them into little, and put little gift things in them, so they're all just still left, what was left over. This is just my all tissue. Oops. This is all the tissue, different colours and plain tissues out of shoe boxes and things like that. Here I've got doilies, and underneath that I've got paper bags and bags, just bags and baggies and things. Goodness, what's in that box? Plastic bags. Yeah, and that's it. Thousands of plastic bags. I can't throw them away, but I don't know that I'll ever use them. This little shelf, I've got those sort of like pearl drop things that you have to wait for them to dry, and just some embossing powders, my embossing stuff. These are the napkins that I've kind of put out here, one of every napkin, and then I've got my spare napkins stored somewhere else. In here, didn't succeed. In here I have some die cuts. Here there's Sizzix Wildflower die cuts, die cutting machine, and I think in this, yeah, these are all the bits for the die cut machine, embossing folders and dies. And of course down the bottom I just have my little die cut machine. I don't actually use it very often, but now it's more sort of accessible, I might use it again. Okay, back to the top. So I have these 3 drawers that I got from op shops, and they've got all just various papers in. So we'll just have a look at those. Who knows what's in them. Various cards and glittery paper. You know, that kind of paper. Vintage paper, coffee dyed. Cardstock, gold and things like that. Embossed. 3D. Not 3D, you know what, you know. Now I have to think of all the words. Texture pasted. That one was sent to me. I think it was sent to me. I never know that it was Kay or Karen, but they're very, very pretty. Love that. Got to use it one day. And just some textured envelopes. This one's just, I don't know, miscellaneous paper, miscellaneous card, miscellaneous rainbow paper. These are taken out of books, you know, the front covers of books, good vintage paper. This is like vellum-y type stuff, but not actually vellum. That's just tracing paper on the top. But this is like coming out of those Victorian albums, you know, or stamp albums. So you get this really nice vintage glassine paper. And then I think these are more digital stuff, supposedly organised into types. Different kinds of digital papers, and this is just miscellaneous papers. Okay, all right, down we have an empty basket. Sorry, down here we have an empty basket I just got from my mum, which I knew that would fit perfectly in there. I know I haven't got anything in it yet, but I'm sure I will find something. This is a folder of, you've seen it, I think, you know, like labels and things. It's always handy to have it work and reach it. Here's all my buttons and some beads, buttons and beads basically. What's this one? Brads. Buttons, beads and brads. The next 2 down. Miscellaneous cloths and things. In here is just some bits and bobs, little pieces. That's some Your Creative Studio labels and things. These are just things that have got used and then not used. Just pretty things, and then there's a whole bunch of tags waiting to be made at the back. Down one, we have miscellaneous sort of number stickers and different stickers I've collected from op shops. Yeah, just mostly miscellaneous number stickers. Under there's my Harry Potter stuff that I was cutting out of the other day. A spare cutter, which I never use those paper cutters, and some, you know, I only use the circle punches and the corner punches. I don't really use the other stuff much, but it's there if I need it. Here, well, I've just got all these miscellaneous tapes in here. Yeah, every kind of tape you can imagine. But what I am happy about is I did get this cloth tape, which next time I make a journal, that's actually, yeah, cloth tape, which will be good for reinforcing journals. So I must remember that that's there, but at least all the tapes are together, and that's like a punching board, you know, like to punch in when you're making your signatures. And I believe this is my binding kit. Yeah, my binding kit. And I've got some more wax thread coming. Well, I'm going to order it. This is a miscellaneous of metal stuff and jewellery bits. Yeah, jewellery making. Well, no, I don't make jewellery, but there's jewellery making bits that I've picked up, which I use, you know, for your dangles and things. I haven't made one for a while, and I'm going to. Bits of jewellery. The jewellery are now sorted into sort of types, sort of chains, that's sort of all clunky stuff. This is all got lots of pretty things in it. These are book corners. The book corners. I don't know whether you can see because there's not much light here. And these are just some Tim Holtz things that I bought from Which Craft Do You Do, but I haven't used them, and they're a bit big and clunky, to be honest. I don't know if they'll ever get used. Yeah, the keys are huge. And these were just some bits of jewellery I thought was really pretty. Got it in an op shop somewhere. Okay, back to the top. So I think in this one is a miscellaneous piece of fun I don't know where to put. I think these are all my cling acrylic stamps. Loads of acrylic stamps. Not very accessible at the moment as they are, but yeah, I haven't figured out a new way of storing those. In here is the wooden ones, which they're more neatly stored. Maybe I should do something like this for the other ones, the cling ones. At least they'd be flat, and then just put the miscellaneous stuff back in the. These drawers came from a, you know, one of those ones on wheels. So I just took the drawers out. They're handy. So tools in this one. Look at this, what I got. I got one of these little crapper dots. This turned up in a box of junk that Dad was given and was selling at a garage sale. And I picked this out and went, oh my God, it's a crocodile. I can't believe it. So I said, oh, you can have it. Oh, thanks, Dad. I was literally just going to buy one because the small one, I've got the big one, but I find it, and it's at the art studio now, so I can't use it here anyway. So I've got the little one here and the big one at the art studio, which I was using to bind a journal the other day. My heat tool, a hairdryer, and jewellery things. This one is kind of, I think this one's glues. Apparently other things. Yeah. Miscellaneous products for art-ish things. All sorts of crackle mediums that I tried that didn't work. My gesso. Yeah, gesso, gel medium, texture paste, that kind of stuff, and sanding things. This one's the glues, a few different types of glues and some spare art glitter glue, tapes, and some spray bottles. A spray adhesive and a matte spray, and there I have various plastic envelopes. And this is just cardboard, you know, packaging to use. More packaging, but well, yeah, just different cards that I've come across at op shops and things that you can make tags into. And this one's miscellaneous paper, like all the drawer liner paper, wallpaper, quilling paper I picked up, more drawer liner. These are really awkward because they're always too long. But yeah, miscellaneous pretty papers. Alright, I have to put the book down, the camera down. Alright, in these two boxes, one on top of the other, I have that one actually goes in that one. In here's the pretty papers, sort of pretty, like colourful patterned papers, and yeah, those kinds of, oh, well, they're coloured envelopes. They should go in the coloured envelope section, but that's okay. They're in here now. Yeah, just all notepads and stationery sets that I pick up along the way. In here, all pretty ones. Pink paper, blue paper. It's actually lined paper that goes in the other one, but it's coloured, so it's in here. Okay, so they're all there at the bottom. And then this one is just not buying any more of this stuff. Sort of vintage exercise books, vintage paper, lined paper, squared paper, notebooks, that kind of stuff, which, yeah, got too much of that stuff. Don't need all that. Labels, I don't really use. Oh, that's just some black paper. I'll just put those back. Okay, back to the top. I just use these Amazon boxes. That's got large envelopes and new large envelopes, so used and new. These drawers were also from one of those, you know, metal drawer sets on wheels, but I find a lot of these drawers, if you put anything slightly heavy in, they just fall out. So I thought they'd go better in here. So this one is 2 trays of ribbons. I think they're sorted into, well, they were sorted into colour schemes. There's some spare organ music paper. And then this is lace. So I've got neutral lace mostly, and then coloured lace. And more organ rolls, music rolls. I think that's the wrong lid, but anyway. We have coloured, the sort of, I've got some of all of this in here. So this is kind of like spare, I think it is anyway, all spare, so it's duplicated up here. So I don't need to get this out every time. And what have we got down here? Good to go through this actually so I can remember. Oh, this is just white packaging. Oh. Okay, forgot that was there. Stuff you can use for tags. Oops, sorry. And more cardboard stuff. And tag stuff. And then there's those folders or cardboard. So it's all together. Okay, I've got the right lids back on the right boxes now. So they're down there. I've got this old coffee table which is on wheels, which is really handy, and I just wheel that around the room behind me. I used to have it behind me in the other art room, and then I can put the projects that I'm working on there, or papers that I'm using, instead of cluttering up my desk. So it's kind of like spare desk space, and it won't be empty for long. Over by the window we have obviously my cutter. What are they called? Anyway, one of those chomper thing, so it's very handy. It's nearby. I just grab the handle, I can pull it over onto the desk. I'd love one of those small ones. And then I changed my system. I'm going to actually pull my chair over one sec. So I changed my system. I used to have all my stickers in a little sticker book. I've now given it to Mum because I had too many, and so there was stickers in different places. So then what I started doing is I've sorted them out. So I've got all my butterfly stickers in one drawer, so I can just rummage through there. I'm not sure yet whether it's going to be great this way, but this is my new system. So I've got all my butterfly stickers. I think they're all stickers, well, all butterflies. Okay, and then I found, oh no, so I've only got one drawer of butterflies, so that's good. Apart from the ones that I haven't cut out that are in the digital drawers. These are just some flowers that I sorted through the other day. for the lack of anywhere else to put them, they came in here. Okay, so theoretically, flowers with flowers. That's my theory. And so these are all flower images that I've already cut out or printed off. So I used to have a basket and use those for collage, these kind of baskets up here. And I used to have flowers, birds and butterflies in each basket. So now I'm going to have the stickers and the images together, because it doesn't matter the images. It doesn't matter if they're a sticker or not. So I've got one of butterflies, but I think I've got two of flowers. So that was paper flowers, and these are flower stickers that I've bought. Littlebirdie.com and things like that, or ones that I've found at op shops and AliExpress stickers and that kind of thing. So these are all my flower stickers and flower images. And because these things are light, these drawers don't fall out too often. So these are actually quite good, and I can wheel this over to my desk when I start working. This one is bird images, so there's bird stickers. Yep, bird stickers. See, they do come out a little bit. And these are bird images. So instead of having them in the baskets on the top of the shelf when I was in the other room, they're now all together. So if I want a bird, I can just go here, or a butterfly. This one is people, for the most part. Digitals. Yeah, all my ladies. There's digitals in here, and yeah, so all sort of vintage ladies. They are a little bit annoying, these drawers, but hopefully they'll work. In here was just some stuff I didn't know where to put. This is like a black and white book. I put it in a black and white photo album so I remember what's in it, but I don't use this one. So anyway, if I ever want to do a black and white page, that's that. And then just some miscellaneous images, and there's also stickers in that book there. And they're just mushrooms because I didn't know where else to put them. So that's a really handy drawer, I think, when I'm decorating, because they're kind of all together and I can pull them over close. All right, let's move across. Right, up the top here, I've condensed it. I had a lot more baskets than this, so now I had baskets to sell in the garage sale. They're now sorted, so we've got coloured, floral-ish paper for the most part. And then underneath there's like full pages from Daphne's diary and magazines that I've bought, but they're full pages, fit in this big tray, and cut pages of floral decorative. I'm not too sure what this one is, but this is like smaller pieces of floral decorative. Kind of goes in that basket really. This is more your vintage colour scheme, neutrals, whole coffee dyed and text papers. So right, you know, instead of getting out of a book, get it out of these drawers first. Okay, this one. All right, and so then what I actually had from Margaret Miller, I used to have, you know, birds, flowers, people, things. I had it all separated into categories. So these are what's left over of the categories. So this is animals in the small format. This is miscellaneous things. You know, like, you know, suddenly you need a musical instrument. Well, I can go in here and I know there's a musical instrument. So miscellaneous things, I go through these baskets first for all my Marguerite Millers when I'm doing them again, to find bits to go in the Marguerite Miller. And that's where I pull from, is these baskets first. And then this one's people, places and buildings, and again stuff that I go to here for Marguerite Miller. And this one is the larger flower pictures that I've got that didn't fit in the drawer. Oh, and there's more. There's a leftover one from the Audrey book. Larger pictures, people, places and animals. And again, Marguerite Miller kind of stuff, but there's just, yeah. So this is what I mean. I try to go to these baskets before going to the books. But you know what I do? I always pull out more than I need, and then, hang on, the jigsaw puzzle to get it back. It's a little condensed pile. You know, I always end up more than I need, so that's why I end up, you know, putting them in these baskets, but I try to have them sorted so that if I need to find a building, I know to go to these bottom ones. Okay, down here in this really heavy unit that we picked up, my dad and I, it was actually at the side of the road, but I thought it was quite useful for my purposes. So in here we have, because 12-inch paper doesn't fit in many shelves, I did have a shelving unit for it, but you know, the shelves were so high, it's a waste of space to put a few pads of 12-inch. There's my 12-inch papers here and here at the top. And then these are miscellaneous coloured papers that I can pull from. So there's, I've never used that, but there's vintage coloured paper. This was wrapping paper. And then under here is lined paper. And this one is my very vintage, what do you call it? Ledger paper. Up here is pretty papers in little booklets. And these are just things that I've bought. Coloured cards. Some Your Creative Studio. Yeah. For lack of anywhere else to go, they're all together in a basket. Oh, they're just some cards left over, New Age cards. I was using them, not anymore. And then here's some sort of 6-inch or 8-inch paper pads, coloured paper pads. Okay, down one shelf. Oh, this is all jelly print. So if I need a jelly print, I'll just pull that basket out. We'll just go underneath while we're here. So here, they're just two clear plastic drawers that happen to fit perfectly. So in here I have the neutral scraps, and here I have the coloured scraps. And they just get pulled out onto my desk when I need them. This is kind of a basket of kind of vintage things. I'll show you. So there's my Russian dolls, there's placemats, there's cards, some playing cards, vintage playing cards, vintage, you know, those cigarette cards, and yeah, some more. They're the soldier ones that I don't use, and yeah, more playing cards. So that's kind of like, I try to keep vintage and modern to get separate. So when I want vintage, I know where to get it from. Okay, and then here, very old chocolate box I got probably in the 1980s, and this has all my postcards. Most of them are vintage. Yeah, I've been collecting and hoarding, as they say. Don't use them very often. Occasionally I use them. Let's put this light on in case that's better. So in this big book of teas, I had tea in it that was out of date. I've kept, you know, the really beautiful, I think I bought these off Etsy, flowers from, you know, old books. Beautiful. Beautiful pages, again, hoarding them. So all my sort of vintage things, yeah. Waiting for a more vintage book, but very pretty. But then it's in a clear box, which is really handy, so I can remember what's in it. That's handy. One sec. Then I have this really useful box, which I obviously got for $1 at a op shop. Oh, well, the postcards, I guess, should go in the postcard. Well, they're sort of cabinet cards, but they should go in the postcard box. So this is when I was collecting things from, oh gosh, what's her name? Oh, I'll put it on the screen. You know, I used to buy her, that's a postcard. Used to buy her boxes, and you got all sorts of weird vintage things in there. Checkbooks and letters, passports, notebooks. Remember this old notebook that I got? Oh. So again, genuine vintage papers and books. Oh, let's get out the postcards. Postcards not supposed to be in here. Oh, some old photos, they can stay in here. But I'd like all the postcards to be together. They're from the book reproductions, but still, when you cut them out, you'd never know they're not, you know, it's vintage still. Then with the postcards. Yeah, so all my original vintage stuff that I got from a lovely lady in Australia. Can't remember her name. I will remember it and I will put it on the screen. Sorry, it's gone out my head. I haven't bought anything for a while. Oh, and then remember this, I got this a while ago. It's a reproduction, but reproduction vintage Christmas card box. So I just put other actual vintage Christmas cards in the same box. So if I'm looking for a vintage Christmas card, this is where I come. So, but yeah, box full of those. So I kind of like wanted to try and keep all my vintage stuff here to get close together, so that if I'm looking for vintage, I know where to find it. In here I have vintage pretty cards, so let me get them out. Oh, that one's not vintage pretty, but my playing cards, and these are my vintage pretty cards. So yeah, plenty of those. Lots of them. Okay, so I found something to sit on. Sit on my buffet, so I can. So the bottom shelves of this old old TV table, I've got in here. I think these are my stamps. Yep, put all my Australian stamps. There's some of the other countries as well, but mostly that's my Australian stamps. It's now full again. I don't know how it got so full in this nice old tin. In here are projects waiting to do. Most of them, yeah. So this one's been there for a while. This is my sort of grungy one. You remember the grungy one I was going to do? We had a vote to see whether we were doing Lotto. So all the grungy stuff, autumn colours, all that stuff went in there, waiting to do like an autumn fall type journal, which of course it's autumn here, so I could do that now. But that's waiting for the urge to do an autumn journal. You guys are in spring. Oh, that's got Peter Rabbit stickers in it when I was doing my Peter Rabbit journal. So this is all Peter Rabbit stuff. So in this old book I have cutouts, papers for Peter Rabbit books, cards, Peter Rabbit style papers. Yep, so when I'm doing my Peter Rabbit journal, I can pull from this and continue with my journal. Oh, here's more stuff at the back. Lots of stuff. Okay, put that back in there. This is, I don't know what this is. It's more flowers. I think this is stuff I sorted out to go into the journal I'm making at the art club, and that just went into this basket, and these are just things that I thought matched the colour scheme, so that will go to the art club when I remember. This one's just an empty one that just happened to fit in that slot, so I put that there for whenever I want to put something in it. So that's that little section. Okay, above this shelf of course is the TV, and on this shelf are really old dingy books that nobody wants, but we want them because they've got vintage paper in them. You know, like this. This is a book I've had since I was a child. It's a boring book, but it's got fantastic vintage paper in it. So I pull from these. There's the different language paper, there's dictionary paper, you know, all the different kinds of things that Margaret Miller asks for. And then these are just book pages and dictionary type pages that, yeah, nobody wants. And down here's my magazine, so you can see there's all my Daphne's diaries. Nice and neat together where I pull from. This is a Daphne's diary book that I got for Christmas. Got one for me and one for Mum. It's just full of images which I haven't even started using yet, but it's just full of stuff. And then these are just kind of various magazines, so I'll try to keep the same. So these are more modern magazines with, yeah, what I can go to for images. Again, just modern shiny images which I don't use that often. Slightly older magazines, they're all People's Friend. And then, okay, and then there's some really vintage ones in here. Oh, I collected these pop magazines because it reminded me of when I was a kid, but yeah, just hoarding those. So, but vintage magazines and magazines I'm hoarding. This is just a little pile of colouring books. Colouring books I had from ages ago, but I don't like them. They're okay, but they're a bit detailed. That one's pretty. I wouldn't mind doing that one. Yeah, so there's the odd one in each book. I bought the whole set, but there's the odd one in each one that I quite like. And then I got this when I did a Halloween project, so it had Halloween colouring in stuff. But I thought I could use those, and so I kept all the Halloween images. If I do a Halloween project, I'll just go to this colouring book, and there's another colouring book there, mandalas. Okay, bottom shelf. Children's books that I don't mind cutting out of, or that were damaged, or already had ripped pages, all that kind of thing. So they're the ones that I pull from, and I've got a whole big shelf in my other room full of children's books I collect and save and keep nice. So these are just books that were damaged or scribbled on and that kind of thing. So this is a book that I bought my son, but it's falling apart. So if I need comic book pages, I go to Calvin and Hobbes, but it's just literally falling apart. But I have all the other Calvin and Hobbes books kept safe. And I bought this. Oh, I love this. This I used to have this book, and then I didn't have it anymore. When I found one in an op shop, I had to keep it because this cake, I used to say to my son when he was 5 and 6, what cake do you want me to make? So the idea was, what cake do you want me to make for your birthday? So he's supposed to go through all the pages and find out which birthday cake he'd like for his birthday. And every year, all he ever wanted was the train. He used to love Thomas the Tank. So 2 years in a row, I had to make this train cake. Yeah, that was stressful. Oh my goodness. Can't believe I did it. I remember one of them, I was still icing it when people were walking in the door. It was stress to the max trying to get that cake done. But anyway, it's got memory, so I just kept that. Yeah, old calendars that I might use one day. And another colouring book, which I love this colouring book. Just on that shelf because it doesn't fit anywhere else. It's full of beautiful butterflies. So I was doing one the other day. I'll turn up here in a minute. Yeah, see, I was colouring these in. And I wasn't sure if I could scan them and then use them to cut out rather than cut these out. Because once I've cut them out, well, I could just go buy another one. It's in Kmart, I think. So yeah, really pretty butterflies that you can, colour in yourself and feel like you're being arty. So they're nice. So that's that shelf. Okay, now the other shelf at the top. I keep pressing the wrong button. It keeps setting off. So at the top here, I've got all these sorts of books. So I've used this tea book quite a few times. See another one I've used. Oh, I've got here, look. These are all, dress books and things with images in them. People's Friend actually has quite a lot of nice images. Inspirations for quotes. I haven't used a lot of these, but I want to use this one day. I love this book. I want to make a journal with this book. It's the Forget-Me-Nots. But it's too nice. So that just stays in the shelf at the moment. Hoarding it. Cottage book. Yeah, it's got little tiny pictures in it. Some of these books I've had for a long time. Some of them I bought in op shops. Like this rose book's really sweet. It's got cute images in it. So these is where I go for extra images if I can't find what I want in my baskets. It's already been cut out. Oh yes, this is a nice book. It's full of vintage pictures. Yeah. So I always buy any books that have got vintage pictures in them. And this one's got these have got paintings. That's cute. What's this? Is that a picture frame book? Oh no, it's just a cute book. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I like it. So if I like it, I buy it, and it just sits on my shelf until I have a plan for it. And then there's some spare Peter Rabbit book type books, but I've got loads of those on another shelf in the other room. Okay, down here I've got more colouring in books. I don't really like them. I got them from the local post office, but I don't really like the images. This is a really nice book, Stained Glass Designs. I thought some of these images might be useful. The floral ones. Don't know. I haven't used it yet, but anyway, I've had it for ages. One of those books that, oh, that looks nice. And then just sits on my shelf. This is all kind of art projects that I've started, and I'll just put them in a folder. Well, not started, but you know, practices. Practices go in there. Colouring in books. And then these are kind of like decoupage type books, colouring in. So these are art books, you know, from auctions and things, but they have the photos of the actual art in there, which I've used those quite a lot. This is an old recipe book. This is my small, oops, the small one of the Country Diary, which I remember Camellia Crafts Designs. Couldn't remember her name. It's Julie. Julie used to say that she liked the smaller one because the images were smaller and more useful. There's my antiquarian sticker book. Oh yeah, that's just got all these pretty borders in this telephone book. And then these are the larger ones of, you know, they've got vintage books. They're dress books, but they've got vintage and floral type images in them. The Kate Greenaway book. This one, I love this book. It's got the gold. It's the Book of Days. It's got the gold type images in there. So I've used that a few times. Okay, so yeah, drawing book apparently, pencil drawing, nowhere else to put them. It's just got pretty things in it. Kirsty's vintage book, vintage pictures in it. Yeah. The retro cookbook, that's got lots of vintage images in it, in that one. And these are these nursery rhyme books. Flower Fairies. Oh yeah, I kept hoarding this. Haven't used any of the pages from this. It's just a copy of the old catalogue. Pauline Gibson catalogue from 19 something. It's actually a copy. It's like a print, but not the original. Yep. So, and then there's these Yesterday's Ladies type books, which have vintage images in them. Some of them are too big. Just a magazine. More vintage images, but they're nice and small. They're really good. And that's just a grandma's cookbook, but I just like the book. Reader's Digest, really old. What's this? Cut out the medieval pictures and keep the cover. Okay, do that one day. Yeah, and these are extraordinary things to cut out in collage type books you can get from Amazon. Oh, it's a really lovely book of advertising, but I can't see myself ever using it. But oh wow, these gorgeous images. Yep, great, but can't cut it up. I'll just keep it. And a stenciling book. Oh, that's that book of symbols of Australia that I got. That I also can't cut up. And then miscellaneous books I picked up from op shops. That's that shelf. Well, now that I'm in here and I've got this bigger shelf, I've got all my gardening and herbs and flower books together. And then on my Edwardian Lady Country Diary books together. The smaller ones, obviously I'm cutting that one up, I'm keeping the other one then. Wildflower book, trees, so yeah, this whole shelf appears to be flower related and decoupage. Yep, so if I want a flower, I've got one there somewhere. Down here is kind of like Flora and Fauna, Heritage of Britain countryside books, and my beautiful bird books, which most of those, I've got 2 copies of these, but they're too big anyway, you can't use them, but anyway, I keep them. And more bird books. Again, most of the bird pictures are too big, but I have used these small ones for bird pictures. They're all my bird books. In there is just a box of maps. Some of them are quite old. I had that one in the 1970s, that's mine. A map of London. Yeah, just old maps. And then I've used a lot of the pictures out of this book. Some of them are too big. But yeah, Victorian scrapbook pictures. So I've used that a lot, but it doesn't fit on any shelf, so it's there. And then they're old not digital, atlases. Yeah, vintage type atlases. I prefer the older ones to the newer ones. Okay, so we're nearly done. So this one I decided to keep as my display shelf, and as I say, inspiration. And then these are just drawers that were in the other room. This is going to be making, well, you've got stenciling, so making patterns on papers and making faux, the rest of it's actually at the art studio, making faux rice paper. So I just picked that up because you can trim that and put it on your faux rice paper. This is the watercolor paint section, which I've taken some of the watercolor stuff away. It's in that basket. This is like for making coffee dyed paper, and this was for jelly printing, so this will be kind of like the jelly printing, coffee dyeing type area. Again, jelly printing, making the stamping things, and that's just packaging. These are my art drawers, which were in the other room, so miscellaneous brushy things, spongy things. So now try to keep the same sorts of stuff together. So I've got watercolor, gel pencil. Instead of gelatos, I bought these different cheaper versions, and they all work fine. So Shuttle Art, Faber-Castell, Montmartre, more Faber-Castell. They all work fine, like gelatos, but are way cheaper. These are sort of alcohol markers. So there's actual alcohol markers from Aldi, which are nice and cheap. Your Sharpie pens, different sizes, and all different colours. So yeah, trying to keep all the same things together so they're easy to find. In here is 2 sets of gel pens, Tombow markers. They go in this one. Texters, what I used to call texters. Well, that's why they're not in there, they don't fit. Okay, I'll stay here then. And then different watercolour markers that I pick up cheap at places like Aldi. They were doing these, and these are the Colour It watercolour pens. Watercolour pens, which were expensive from Amazon, but anyway. And then this one is pastel type things. Those I use a lot, you know, when I'm doing edges, shadows. Picked up these recently, cheap. Haven't used them yet. Coloured pastels. And then these are the oil pastels, coloured pencils. Oil pastels that I pick up from op shops. Yep. Oil pastels, metallic pencils. My old original pastels, charcoals, and crayons. So all the pastels and things like that are in there. And this usually has some other acrylics and some gouache, and whatever these are, gouache. Some ink, which I've had for donkey's years, and my nibs, and ink pens. Oh, now I know where that is. I've got some other ink somewhere else that can go in here, so I can find the ink. These are the other acrylics that go in the bottom drawer. That's my basket of things that I took to the last, we were doing pointillism. So this is the project we were copying, and this is where I've started. That sky, yeah. So I've done the blue. I haven't done the reds and the yellows yet. So that's my copy of that, and brushes and stuff that we took to the art studio to do our workshop. And then in here was just miscellaneous paint stuff. So water containers, palettes, covers, and cloths. So that's quite nicely organised. So this is meant to be my art desk. So I've got all different art papers here, big ones, some watercolour papers I've had since the 1980s, to be honest. art journal papers. So these are all blank, you know, like for art journaling, not your lined papers, not your lined paper journals. So there's all different papers here. In this top drawer, I believe, is the sewing stuff for when I decide to sew tags, and just, yeah, plasticky things that you can put acrylic paint on. So that's that desk, and that's a project we started at a workshop at the art studio, a watercolour flower. And now we're back to my desk. So now the way I have it now, which is different to before, but now I've got some inks, ink brush things, glues, the little scissors, big scissors, brushes, watercolour pencils, craft knives and rulers, a feather, which no idea where that came from, all my washi tapes at the art studio, so I've only got this washi tape here, my cutting mats, spare space for papers and things, remote controls for the TV, and of course the mat that you normally see down like that. I just cover a craft mat because I can't keep my craft mat clean, so I could just change this with net curtaining. I just get a new one every 6 months or so, and that works. And then last but not least, I have here, oh, I've got a few more things to show you in the other room. So in here I have most of the pens that I use regularly. So my Pet Artist pens, Micron pens. So I have them organised into types. So I've got Pet Artist here. I've got alcohol type ones there, like, you know, these Copic pens. And there's just some fluoros that I really don't use. It's some metallics. They're calligraphy pens in here, and I bought some more calligraphy pens which I haven't used yet. I've tested them, but I haven't used them. And those calligraphy pens. So I wanted to do more calligraphy. And then these are just, yeah, microns, miscellaneous rubbers, miscellaneous Posca type pens. And in this drawer, gets a bit messier, normal pens and tapes, a lighter for my isn't that a cute box? There's the front door. It just opens. Yeah, so my you know, candle stuff. There's my candle warmer that they just push to the back there. Tapes, stapler. And the bottom drawer is pins, paper clips, rubber bands, yeah, useful stuff like that. So all of that's handy in those drawers. But here, mostly I've got fabric in, so scraps at the top, and then that one there's coloured, but leftovers. Coloured in this one, neutrals in that one, whites in that blue one. Down there's my Christmas tub. These are just spare. That one there is more coloured and floral. That is family tree stuff. That's candle stuff. That's lace, large rolls of lace. I'll get to those in a minute. I think there's another Christmas one. Yeah, there's another Christmas one under here. So these are obviously don't fit in my art room, but I know where they are, and so they're easy to come when I need them. And these are, apart from that, journals waiting to happen. So you might see these things turn up as a journal. Not that. Oh, I needed that the other day. Yeah, journal covers that I thought were nice. That might become a journal one day. I'll have to now try and figure out how to get them. That was just left over because I couldn't fit it in the other one. So they're all, and Amazon packaging if I want to make a journal out of those. So that's a box of journals to make. In that one there, you've got pretty lace in that one, and pretty lace in this one as well. Christmas at the bottom. A really old rate book that I got a long time ago and haven't really used. I thought it would be really great. It's blank ledger paper, but yeah, it's huge. Haven't used it. So anyway, it's just there now. It's fine. Over here's a little haul table I picked up at a garage sale. And these are my really old books. Some of these are from the 17th. I haven't got any 17s. Some of these are from the 1821 or 1841 might be my oldest. I've done them in a flip through at some stage. So they're my really old books on here. And then here I picked up these vintage trunks. So I've got more vintage magazines in there. I'm not sure. I think that's just got my personal stuff from when I was a kid in there. I don't know if I've shown you these before, but these are my Beatrix Potter collection. This was a gift recently to me of all of the full set, and then I've got the original old set behind. So I've got two full sets now of Beatrix Potter little books, plus these oversized ones. Found that at a op shop, I think. And these various books I've pretty much picked up at op shops. This was sent to me from Janet Nash on YouTube. She sent this to my mum. My mum watches her every Monday. Look, see, for Julie. Thank you, Janet. Goes with my Peter Rabbit collection. And it might go in my Peter Rabbit book yet. I haven't decided. And then Jemima Puddle Duck. And then these are pretty much books that I'm keeping. Little golden books were bought to make journals out of. Yeah, this is when I thought I might make 10 journals a week. Yeah, no, it didn't happen, did it? So I was going to cull these little golden books, but I thought I'll keep them a bit longer and see what happens. Cull as in, you know, sell or give back to the op shops. I'll just keep them for now because, you know, they fill up the shelf. So yeah, just more extra Peter Rabbit books that I'm keeping. All these kinds of books that remind me of my own childhood. Some of these I was going to use for journals, but I haven't done. But mostly these are books that I keep, books that I really like, really pretty books. These are books from my childhood, my own personal books, Enid Blyton's and nursery rhyme book, so from when I was a little kid. I managed to keep. And then these are when I was doing watercolour. I've got some watercolour books there. And children's books and spare flower books and bird books, duplicates and ones that I'm keeping. Gorgeous pictures in them. So that's that bookshelf. And I have this bookshelf, which was I don't know what it was originally. This is a cutlery drawer. I don't keep cutlery in it. But then it was a wine cabinet. My dad converted it to a wine cabinet because he used to, you know, convert furniture. So I don't know if he made it, or I don't know how it became a wine cabinet. These were wine slots in here, but I don't drink wine anymore much. So I said, well, can you convert it to a bookcase? So he converted it to a bookcase for me a few months ago. So it has my really, you know, other old books that I'm collecting. A full set of. I've got two of those now, I think. Got a full set of Edith Holden books. Yeah, I've got two Edwardian ladies, two country diaries, or even three now, and nature notes. So that's got to go back in there. Yeah, so they're ones I'm collecting and keeping. And then an 1850s encyclopedia that I bought at a garage sale. It's got pages missing. I thought I would cut it up, but I can't bear. So it's just filling up my bookcase. And just some other miscellaneous books that I've collected. And these are not to be cut up. So I try to make sure I keep the ones I don't want to be. Oh, these are original Enid Blyton books from my childhood. And I collected some other ones, more modern ones over there. Yeah, so I try to keep all the books that I definitely don't want to cut up in these bookcases, so that they don't ever get cut up. I know that if I come in here, it's just a look, not to use. So when I'm videoing, this is basically the view that I'll have. I'll be able to see the TV, my pictures and journals and books and things and stuff I need to use, but you will see this. But now at least you know where I'm sitting and where everything is and what I'm reaching for and things like that. So I think I like that. When I'm watching a YouTube channel, I like to be able to envision them. But in my little room before, I was kind of embarrassed to, I don't know, it wasn't as well set out as this, and it wasn't as organized as this. So anyway, so now I feel like this is nice. This is a nice art studio, art room, whatever you want to call it, but it does feel more like a studio because it's so big and because my desk's in the middle of the room like other people's. But yeah, the other one was just very small and cluttered and claustrophobic, and you basically couldn't swing a cat in it. But anyway, so this is where I am, and this is where I'll be filming. I haven't done any videos in here yet or any journals in here yet, so after I finished filming this, I'm going to start on a project. So that will be fun. I thought I might as well do the filming first. I don't know when the video will come out, but at least I'll do it now while it's tidy, because it might not stay that way. So anyway, that's it. This is going to be a very long video. I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit, but I wanted to get it filmed while the room was tidy. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you the next time. Bye bye.